Hello and welcome to another edition of the MiamiHal's Real Estate Show. I am here with one of my favorite real estate agents. I can't tell you how happy I am to have Javier Gonzalez here with us.
Pleasure.
Jav is part of the RE/MAX family, of which I am, and he is a specialist in the Grove in particular, right?
So they say.
All right. So we're sitting down getting ready for the show, and we're looking back at this wonderful backdrop that is here, and you're like, man, everything's missing off here.
There's a lot of stuff missing.
Okay, so to show off your expertise, what's missing off this screen right now?
The first thing is the carousel, which just got put up there, which would be somewhere right around in here. So the carousel's gone, and then you got a couple of the other newer buildings. One where Dave Beckham lives, it should be over there on that corner. So yeah, you're missing a couple things here.
Jav is now putting the newspaper folks on notice. Get your backdrop up.
Get a new backdrop.
So let's talk about the Grove, because this is a specialty area within Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly those of us that live here understand the Grove has a character and a real dynamic onto its own. People from outside don't necessarily know that. So you've been working in the Grove for how long?
Well, when I came from Cuba, I actually moved into Coconut Grove in the early 60s.
Okay.
So I was there in the early 60s, and it was a completely different dynamic. And then when I got married, I had to go out to Kendall because everybody did at that time.
Okay.
And then I came back in 92. So I've been working in the Grove when I got into real estate since 2000. But I've seen it evolve and grow through many years.
And for those of you that don't know, he actually has a great reputation among other real estate agents for specifically being the Grove specialist, one of the great Grove specialists.
One of the things that I try to get involved with also is some of the local ordinances and some of the zoning aspects of it, which gives you a little bit of more insight to make the job a little bit more easier and specific. So
yeah, not to get into it, but you've had a little hand in politics for a while.
I have,
and so understanding the zoning and the ordinances. The Grove is trying to maintain some of its original, I guess, 1960, 70-ish style to it. And those ordinances are meant to do that, correct?
Right, correct. So the biggest ordinance that we have it's an overlay, which is the NCD, which is called the Neighborhood Conservation District. There's actually 3 in the city of Miami. One is Coral Gate, and then the other 2 are in the Grove. One in the West Grove, and then one represents the rest of the South Grove. So really it's to protect the historical context of it, the architectural, and also really the tree canopy. That's really our big thing in Miami. We're known as the lung of Miami because of all of our tree cover. So those are the things that code is really, in essence, to protect. Does it do it all the time? No. But is it geared to do that? Yes. And it should be a little bit strengthened, but that's for another conversation.
And you have a passion for that type of stuff because you live in the Grove. I know you to be a guy that's out and about walking dogs and saying hello to neighbors. Tell me, as a real estate agent, why is it important to do those types of things that most people would say, he's just out walking a dog?
Yeah, no, it's one of the elements, and a lot of folks don't take this into consideration, is that when you have a tree canopy, your values are up about 30%. And a lot of the rest of the Miami doesn't have that. And I think that's one of the takeaways about being in the trees. And then also when you're walking around, you're actually meeting people. You're actually also seeing things that are happening in the neighborhood. That may alert you and say, hey, listen, this shouldn't be happening, or this should be happening. And I think it's one of the details that makes actually the Grove unique, is that we do have a lot of that pedestrian traffic all the time.
You're a man on the street, and you pick up information that can be utilized for both buyers and sellers that you service.
Correct. Right.
Now, I'm dressed like a more typical real estate agent, right? I've got the long sleeve shirt on and the collar and all this stuff. What's going on over there?
When I first got into real estate, they said I couldn't do it this way, and I said, yes, I can. So I've always been in flip-flops. As I've gotten older, I've had to put on some tennies, and I've always worked in shorts. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Going back to when I first started.
And for those of you out in the audience, this is a guy who really, when he walks into our offices, he commands a lot of respect. People know what his history is, and you look at him and he's got his flip-flops on, and we're not talking about once in a while. It's flip-flops pretty much 24/7. Yeah. And in fact, your logo, is it still the same way?
Yeah. So casual, relaxed, and stress-free.
And that's the way you want to do real estate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, that was one of the things that I committed to. I said to myself, you know what? We're not going to put pressure on people. We're going to do this in the way I had already had a successful career with my business. And it was something that I got into, and then I just said to myself, you know what, we're going to treat people like people. And we're going to treat people like I expect to be treated.
Yeah.
We're not going to chase them down. We're not going to hound anybody. And we're going to be as honest, as the industry allows you to be with all of the details that we have to give out. And you say to yourself, you know what, this is who I am. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, there's plenty of other folks that.
Exactly. I'll take a brief moment to mention again, as I always do, those of you that are watching, you're part of the show, and I want to make sure it's interactive. So if you have any questions, particularly about Coconut Grove today, Hav's the man to ask. So we'll keep looking up at the screen. Hopefully we'll get some questions coming in live. And again, if you are watching this on demand, put the questions in anyway. We'll check in once in a while and try to answer those offline as well. So let's talk about all the things that are happening in the Grove right now in reaction to COVID-19. So we hear nationally that folks from particularly New York, but the Northeast in general, are coming down to the Miami area and looking for a way to escape that on a more permanent level, right? New York may be different from here on out, New York City. COVID-19 has had an effect locally on people that were in the Brickell area and downtown and in high rises. How are you seeing that play out for you in Coconut Grove?
The first move that I saw was that we had a lot of young folks leaving. Basically, they expedited their move out. So in other words, if they were planning on moving 2 years from now, they immediately said, okay, listen, let's start looking now quicker. And that really you could see it in the numbers. The numbers just showed that anything under $1 million started to get a lot of activity. It would trade for either above asking or less than 5% of asking. So that you saw that throughout the whole county. You saw that in the Gables, you saw that in Pinecrest, you saw that in Palmetto Bay, you saw it all over the place. So I think that was one of the first indicators that we said, okay, the condo market is going to have, especially the rental, because you were coming off a rental. So we saw that spike. And then from New York and from other areas, we just saw a spike that is incredible, to be quite honest. I mean, I'll tell this story.
Please.
One of my neighbors just listed a house that is 2,000 square feet for 1.35, and they got 1.35. That's $690 a foot. And
it's a pretty impressive number.
That's an impressive number.
What would that number have been in your estimate?
400.
Prior to COVID, it would have been 400, and we're at 690. You just said,
and it's going to continue to climb.
That's pretty good math.
And my concern, and this is I told everybody this, is it's that resale that comes up 2 years from now, 3 years from now, as this event starts to stabilize. Then you say to yourself, are you going to be able to get that kind of money again for these properties that are on the high side?
As somebody that has been in the Grove area since the 60s, and you've seen not only this spike, but you've seen prior.
Right.
What is your estimate as to what 2 years down the road looks like for the Grove?
I think there's going to be, if people start to move back out, if you have that migration back up north or just throughout the country, I think it's going to be really, really tough. Because again, you're going to have to go through 2 hurricane seasons. You're going to have to go through continuing climate change. And these things will affect not so much the Grove, because we're on the highest point of Miami-Dade. That's one of our advantages. But I think it starts to affect the resale of these properties that are selling at a spike. And it's not like 2005 to 2009 where you're spiking for investment. This is actual needs. This is actual people living. So that's where I think 2 years from now, it's going to be tricky.
So we've got price spikes, which I think there are several factors leading to that. Probably the biggest of which is just incredibly low interest rates. So money is cheap.
Yep.
How do you feel? Because I've got a lot of input, and we've talked about this on prior shows. How do you feel appraisals are working these days? And do you believe that appraisers are ahead of the curve, behind the curve, or in trouble in any way? Because there's been some opinion about that.
So I think some of them are with the curve, on the curve. Some, like I just did an appraisal out in Kendall, and the property was 295 and it came in at 255. That's a big chunk. So, but yet I've seen it in the Gables and in the Groves where the numbers are hitting fine and dandy. I had 2 townhomes in like the Silver Bluff area, and both of them were 700,000 and both hit. So I think it depends on where the area is and what type of product you have. I haven't seen any appraisal shows in the Grove, the Gables, Silver Bluff area. What would be Miami proper? I haven't seen any of those issues. And planned developments and pods, I think there we'll see it, because you're still comparable to it. Just same thing as a condominium. When you have a condo of, you sold at 300, you're worth 300.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where you're seeing the two big discrepancies. But in single family, no, I see it right now that they're hitting, the appraisals are hitting.
Yeah. So again, the Grove being so unique, it's a product that really could sell itself, but it has to obviously have expertise behind that.
Mhm.
Somebody like you, if you're talking to somebody that's coming down from the Northeast and they're saying, yeah, I don't want to be downtown in Miami.
Right.
I want to have the access to downtown and all the cultural things. What areas can you tell me about, and what are the advantages of those areas? I assume you talk about the Grove.
Mhm.
So generically, sell somebody on the Grove, because
It's the easiest thing in the world. We have the greatest location in Miami-Dade County.
okay.
So you're not in a floodplain. Let's start with that. So you don't have to worry about any kind of climate change if you have that concern. Secondly, you're 15 minutes away from anything and everything. You can get to the beach, you can get to the Gables, you can get to South Miami, you can get to this place, you can get everywhere. That was always our strength. On top of that, we have one of the prettiest tree canopies, and we have one of the most inviting outdoors in the county. So I think if you're going to sell Miami, that is the easiest pitch. And if you want to do it really easy, just go out on a Sunday morning. You see all the bicyclers, all the runners. The interaction of the community is second to none. There is nobody else that interacts.
Yeah, it's palpable.
Yeah.
How different it is.
Yeah, and you can see it from everywhere. So everybody that is a bike in cycling comes from everywhere into the Grove to cycle. Same thing running. I mean, the Miami Marathon runs through there. So all of these outdoor activities are always hitting, and I think that's one of the things that makes us, what we are.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about the Grove as a whole,
Mhm.
but the Grove could probably be broken down into like sub neighborhoods, can it not?
They have done it, and it was really, I think we were always Coconut Grove, and then over the years they started to create South Grove, North Grove, Center Grove, and it was mostly due to zoning. So I'll give you the example. South Grove doesn't have sewers. It does, but not on the majority. North Grove has sewers. Center Grove is all townhomes. Then you have, East Grove goes west, has been historically the African American community. So you have these different pods, and one of the neat parts about it is they all have their intertwined, interconnected little idiosyncrasies that if you're not aware of what is there, you can make a big mistake. I've seen builders and developers come down like thinking they can, they're the Donald Trumps of the world, and they're going to come down and roll over you. And they buy a lot and they think they can build 3 properties, and all of a sudden they can only build 2 because they don't understand, or the agent doesn't understand, and they get into some financial trouble because of that.
Yeah. So we're talking about the effects of COVID, the different types of neighborhoods within the Grove itself. Mm-hmm. You have some generic examples of pricing and things that have happened recently. Yes.
Insane.
Okay. Tell me some of these numbers, because as agents, we kind of have this inner language between each other, and you can even walk up to somebody who specializes in an area like you do and look at their face and go, okay, I got it.
Yes.
But what's like an amazing sale that happened
the biggest discrepancy to me, being in this gig for a long time, is you have a condo at 24 million and you have a residential at 18 million. And that discrepancy to me just not square. Again, people like condo living,
right?
But you're still in a condo. You still are at the mercy of whatever is there. So a condo is valued above land and a single family type home, which to me is mind boggling. I mean, again, I know it's lifestyle.
Right. Who's living in that $24 million pad is what makes it $24 million.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about.
Yeah. And again, and recently in the Grove, there's, I think, like 8, maybe 9 properties over $10 million, which is something we didn't have. The highest one was listed right now is at 18 million. But the biggest close sale that we've had is probably around 10 million, and then we're going back to the last 6 months, approximately. But you still see the bulk of the action under 2 million. That's where the real, that's where you get the turnover and the thread. And that's also in the condo townhomes.
Predominantly, you are traditionally a listing agent, meaning mm-hmm. you're trying to help people sell their homes mm-hmm. in the Grove.
Right.
With all the buyer activity that we've seen recently, has that changed? Are you seeing more buyers on your plate, or is it really listings are still your lifeblood?
I've always been like 60-40. So I've always done a lot of buyers because we used to do a lot of relocation stuff. And you always had your listings just because they just flow through through the years that you've been doing this. And I have seen a lot of buyers more than obviously sellers. We're in a seller's market, as they like to say, simply because we have a lot of people that are coming down and moving. The biggest thing I see is that a lot of folks are moving locally and trying to get out of a situation and getting into a situation. I think that's what's really
They're
causing
getting out of the situation where they have to press an elevator button
Yeah.
to get down onto the street, and all the compression that a lot of times people like. Right now, it's like, I don't want to see anybody. I want to step out my front door and be on grass.
And and again, we saw that. So let's talk, the Pinecrest market. I'm sorry that we're going off of the Grove, but the Pinecrest market was in a depressed market. It was trending down. Then all of a sudden COVID hit, it's trended back up simply because you had land, you could have a home office. But again, that thrill that you had being downtown is not there. Same, we talked about earlier about New York, it's just not there. So where are your amenities? Well, if you're at home, you have your amenities. Like I like to say this, I talked to us about it. COVID did not affect my life at all. I have everything at home. So I did not need to do anything.
Well, congratulations. We're all very jealous.
I know, but again, it's a single family type property. You have your pool, you have your barbecue, whatever the heck it is. You have all these things.
Yeah.
It's all there. So, again, I think, and I say I'm not special. If I am, and I tell this to my clients, if you like it, somebody else is going to like it. We're not special.
Yeah.
We're all kind of looking for the same kind of thing. So I think that's really what's spiked the market, and there are more buyers. I agree.
So we'll take a moment and look back out at our audience for a few seconds. And I'm curious to understand from your perspective, you get a call or somebody knows you somehow and says, listen, I'm thinking about selling my house.
Right.
And let's look right out at them and have, why are you the agent to help them sell as opposed to the myriad of other choices that they have out there?
I think the reason that I've been successful is I'm going to tell you what your property is worth and what your property is worth at the moment. And I'm going to tell you about what's out there competition wise. And then I'm going to tell you the real number. Everybody's going to overlist you because this business is list to last. So everybody's going to overlist you for that simple reason. But if I tell you, listen, we can list at a price, but the real number is going to be this because this is where everything is trending in the numbers, that at least you have that information. If you choose somebody else, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But the reality is you're going to trade at what I told you.
Yeah. I always tell people that there's two things to be successful in real estate. The first thing is a competent local agent, work with a competent local agent. The Grove, that's you. Second thing is a personality match. And I'll sit there at a listing appointment, or a buyer will call in and say, I'm interested in this area. Can you help me? And often it's the personality match that's more important than the competent local agent part.
Yeah.
But they are both important.
Yeah, I think so. And I know I've lost clients because of, how I am. People want something else. And you can tell it. But again, if you're trying to do something that you aren't, it's going to come off. You're going to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you see me in a suit and a tie,
run away.
All hell's broken loose. I think it's all gone.
Yeah, something will be loose up here.
Something
at that
seriously
point.
wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
So you and I have both been at this for a long time. You a little bit longer. I'll just leave it at that. Gray hair. Yeah. And so I'd like to ask you that the industry has changed.
Oh, yeah.
And
we're going to go there, aren't we?
a little bit of inside baseball. You and I started talking about this topic probably 10 to 12 years ago, where you saw some things happening that a typical consumer certainly wouldn't see, and you said, "Watch out! This is us heading in the wrong direction, or this is us heading in the right direction." Let's not go exactly there. We know where we're heading, but what have you seen in the way of trends on how people buy and sell real estate 20 years ago as opposed to today?
Everybody's an expert.
Okay.
Everybody knows more.
I agree.
Everybody knows more than you do.
Tell me why.
It's because all the information out there, so everybody can Google whatever they want to Google. It still doesn't give you the actual truth of what is on the
insight.
And it doesn't give you what the ground is. But you can Google septic tank inspection. But if you've never looked at a bunch of poop, you don't know what to expect.
You went there.
Had to.
But you're absolutely right. There's so many times where somebody will call me and say, I know you're the expert and this is what I'd like to do. And within 2 minutes, the conversation is flipped. Well, it should be that price.
Right.
Well, you just called to ask for a professional opinion from a real estate agent. Why are you now telling me what it is?
Because my little, how shall we call this, third-party site says it's worth this.
Right.
And again, it's not.
Okay. But again, we're not quite there yet. We're getting there.
No. We'll get there.
Hav and I are like salivating to get there.
We'll get there, but not yet.
About a particular topic. But what we're generally saying right now is technology has changed significantly.
Absolutely.
And the power of information is now in a buyer or seller's hands. And we're seeing some really interesting trends on a mindset level about those buyers and sellers. Do you think that trend is good, bad, or indifferent over that 20-year span?
I think we've evolved to it. It's something that you have to, if you're going to be successful in this business, in this industry, and again, be successful where you are making a living, not just that you're making a part-time, that you're not a bartender at night, and then you're doing this gig, to sell something else. But if you're doing this on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, you've evolved through that. You've kind of realized where you're at. I mean, when I first saw my first MLS, it was in black and white, and it was like these big things. There was no pictures. So you just basically got, like a thing, and that was it. So,
Did you use chisel?
Basically.
You used a chisel back then, right?
And you couldn't, there was no calculators, and the phones were like, by
rotary.
Okay. So that kind of stuff. But I think you just evolve with it. You just roll with the technology that is coming. And, I have a saying, and it's a saying that I've always said, go ahead. Sorry.
No, just with technology, Gary, we welcome you from Country Club.
See, there you go.
That's how cool the technology is today.
Cool.
People can tell us where they are and interact with us. Again, if you have questions, get them in right now, because we're heading in the right direction.
That's cool. But I think one of the things is, I know a lot of smart people that make stupid decisions. And that's one of the things that, because they think they know it. And again, that is a personality aspect. You're either going to hit with those folks or you're not going to hit with those folks.
So technology today and the media is telling everybody there's incredible demand. There's not a lot of product, and we'll use your single family home at $18 million. Well, if that's $18 million and it was only $400 a square foot back last year, then my $200 square foot place is now worth $350, and I want you to sell it for that. Is that realistic? Is that possible?
Well, if you're on US 1 with a wall behind and no pool, and you never updated your kitchen or anything like that, no, I can't.
Okay.
So those are the details that these sites do not pick up.
How do you bring people that are euphoric about how much money they've made with their piece of real estate back down to something that is realistic? Is there a way to do it? Have you found a formula?
I used to, if I still was, wanted to be super, super active, I used to take people to listings. And I say, here, come with me. We'll go to an open house on Sunday, and let's go look at your competition. And that's something I've always done with listings. I always look at their competition. This is who you're competing against. And these guys are this 20 times better. This is why you won't sell.
No matter how good the technology gets, no matter how frothy a market gets, the basics and understanding, listen, if you want to get a certain amount of money, look at what your competition is, and that's got to be the way that you look at this.
And that hasn't changed since I first got started many moons ago.
Okay. Now we're going to go there.
We're going to go there?
We're going to go there. There is this wonderful website.
Favorite topic.
That starts with a Z.
Yes.
That apparently
Saturday Night Live had a great spoof of it.
We're not going to go there, but we'll go elsewhere. Okay. So it starts with a Z. I think its initials are Zillow.
Yes.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
And Zillow is a unique thing that has really come into its own over the last 10 years. Right. And a lot of people think, I'm going to look at real estate, that's the first place they go.
Yep.
And in general, what are your thoughts about Zillow being the first place that a buyer or seller goes to find out about their property or property they want to buy?
Unfortunately, it's going to be what they go to, because that is what's being marketed to them. So at the end of the day, this is being pressed on by national press, by national publications, by everyone. This is it. So you're getting this brand hitting you over the head, So you're going to go there as a client. That's just a reality. I mean, again, you don't want to say it, but we call it, real estate porn. So everybody goes there. It's an easy platform. It's picture friendly. We put those pictures in. That's what people don't realize. So we're the ones that are putting those pictures in there.
But we're putting it into a collective called the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. It is Zillow, among others, that are pulling the information from the MLS. And Zillow, because of marketing, has become this massive place that people go. They also, Zillow, adds a layer to what they do in that they are estimating prices of homes. And I'd love to get your take. I'm going to give you mine, and I'm sure you've got more to say. I actually think Zillow has incredibly good math. And what they're doing is taking a house and making it into a math problem. And that's where I have a problem. Because Zillow has never been inside that home. They don't know if they have $1 a square foot tile on the floor or $70 a square foot tile on the floor. They don't know if the roof is new or old. They don't know if the plumbing is good or bad. And so with all this marketing, they are essentially brainwashing the public into thinking that their house can be estimated down to a reasonable margin of error. And it absolutely can't. So take my statement and layer on top of that.
Well, I think what you just stated is what you bring to the client. And that's what we bring to a client is the reality check. So Zillow doesn't know that it's on US 1 with the Metro Rail running behind it and the pool of water shakes every time a truck runs by.
They know it's a quarter of a mile away from something else, but they do not know the
and they know
environment.
that it's 2,000 square feet. So they'll price it to whatever that 2,000 square feet is.
Doesn't matter if the 2,000 square feet is 1,200 square feet of illegal.
Right, exactly. They don't know exactly. They don't know any of those details. You know my opinion and my feelings about Zillow. Don't get me started because we're going to go down a path that nobody wants to go down. We're going to go down a rabbit hole that will be.
We've said the general problem. So again, we'll kind of address the general audience. What do you tell the general audience about the difference between a quality real estate agent and doing all of your research online with sites like Zillow? Here's your platform, sir.
It's easy. Zillow hasn't been inside the house. It's that simple. They don't know what the business is. They don't know if it's on, well, they'll know if it's on septic, but they don't know if it's how to rate it, how to work it. So you basically have, you have real estate porn. Have at it. Go take a look at all the pictures. Go spy on your neighbors. Go do all of that good stuff. But there's also Facebook for that. But at the end of the day, you need somebody that knows what this product is actually worth. And that's just the reality. And again, you either accept it or you don't. And I'm okay with it.
Feet on the street is better than math. Period. How would you set yourself apart from the other agents that are out there? Because that's one of the things that you and I strive to do every day. For example, we're sitting here doing this, right? Not many agents can say that they can get an audience and to educate people, in my case, on a weekly basis. And thank you for coming in this week. But how do you set yourself apart? What in your head says, I'm the agent that people should come to because blank?
I think over the years, what I've been fortunate to do is build a client base through trust, through the job that I've done, and you get those referrals and that reciprocation. I've never been an agent that's gone after the quick hit. Like when everybody was doing short sales, I didn't do short sales. When everybody was doing foreclosures, I didn't do foreclosures. I always stayed within what I felt. And I think one of the other important things is that I'm a real estate agent. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. I'm not a.
Oh, you're a specialist who knows what they're doing?
Exactly.
Did you just say a professional?
Just one. And I don't compete against my clients.
Right.
So that's the other thing I don't do is if I see a good deal.
Oh, this is too. You and I are so akin like this. And what he's alluding to is, look, we're out looking at housing all the time. And every once in a while you go, wow, this is a deal. And I'm telling you that a good percentage of the real estate agents in this market, even though they have a good client right next to them, will say, I'm not going to show them this. I'm going to take this for myself. And that's been one of my core values is never, never, never compete with your clients.
My job is I'm a real estate agent. Today, I got a phone call from a tenant that wanted to make an offer on the property that she's sitting on. And my investor will sell it, but it doesn't make any sense to her. And I said, listen, you're going to pay $30,000 more than what this place is worth to keep it. No, don't do it. And again, it's my investor, and I know him very well, and we've talked to him, and it's just not right. You just are not. You're not doing something that is just correct. Just be honest. And again, if you're successful, I learned this a long time ago in sales. You know, there's always been that saying, "Always be closing." Don't always be closing. Okay. I learned features and benefits, FAB, and I also learned the fact that you plant a seed, and that seed becomes a tree. And I will tell you the story that is irrelevant completely, but I'll tell you the story.
Good. And it'll wrap us up, by the way. So,
okay. So when I first started in this business, I met a guy that came up to me in a little Volkswagen Bug. And he showed up and we, shot the breeze for a couple hours. The guy wasn't ready to buy nothing. Well, later on, I was playing golf. I was at Biltmore on the 7th hole, and I get a phone call from this guy. The guy says, "Hey, Javi, I'm ready." So we went out, we looked at houses. He finally made a contract on a house, but he always wanted to live on a certain street. He always wanted to live on Irvington. And he always wanted to live on Irvington. And back in those days, no Zillow, no nothing. You used to use a newspaper. So somebody was holding an open house.
A newspaper like these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like these folks do. Good. So you had a newspaper and it had an open house. Were hiding it from the MLS. Gee, what a surprise. So I found it. I called on it. We made the offer. The guy was super, super happy. From that one deal, that was 3 years in the making, I got over 200 clients.
That is a great story. A success story for you and for those clients.
And for the clients.
Because they got the guy that knows the Grove like no other.
And it was not only sales, but rentals, the whole foot, and it was football. Just to be with that one guy and to talk to him, and he's still a client of mine.
That's fabulous. I appreciate your time.
Very welcome.
When you have real estate dreams, you come to the Miami Hal Real Estate Show, and I bring you guys like Javier Gonzalez. He is the Coconut Grove specialist with RE/MAX. And I can't thank you enough. Remember, keep those questions coming in. We're going to check in for anybody that watches this on demand. We'll answer those questions. Until next week, we've got a good one next week. I'm going to keep it as a surprise. Tune in.